Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Research Roadshow. Today is July 13th, 2023, and it's just a little after 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be a short broadcast tonight, just about 10 minutes, because two or three of our subscribers in the past few months have accused me of holding information back about my background, about my purposes here at Research Roadshow and in the overall Osprey community. And I just want to get some information out there, full disclosure, so that at least part of that mystery is taken away, and you have a better idea of who you're dealing with and why I'm participating in Research Roadshow. All right, my full name is John Anthony Wilkins. It has always been John Anthony Wilkins. I've never gone by any pseudonyms. My parents are Leo L. Wilkins, born in April of 35. My mother, Catherine Wilkins, born in April of 39. My wife, Marina, for 30 years, Marina Madzu. Her parents were Luigi Madzu, Esquire, AVV. He was born in January of 25. Her mother, Liliana Naldini, she was born in August of 28. I attended St. Ignatius High School in Cleveland, Ohio. Prior to attending St. Ignatius, I grew up in a neighborhood which was on the east side called Cleveland Heights. It was mostly a Orthodox Jewish community. Then moving out to the west side, that was in North Olmsted, Ohio. That was a mostly, I'd say, Unitarian and Methodist area of the city. There's a reason I'll bring that up in the next episode. And anyway, I went to St. Ignatius High School, graduated class of 83. Then I attended Rensselaer Polytechnic from 1983 till 1987. Got my bachelor's in aerospace engineering. And a lot of people said, well, John, you tell everybody that you went to MIT all the time. No, I never said I attended MIT for undergrad. I did date a girl while at RPI. I dated a girl from MIT, made several trips there. She was from Westport, Connecticut, and I can't for the life of me remember their last name. Her father was the first person I ever saw photographed with Prince Charles. He had a very large boat. Some might even call it a yacht, 70 feet at the waterline. And on this vessel, I saw a nicely framed picture of him with Prince Charles. So that's the first time I made a connection between, and here I'm 20 years old. That's the first time I made a connection between knowing nobility or former nobility in Europe and being well-to-do on the U.S. East Coast. Okay, so after I graduated from Rensselaer Polytech, I went to Edwards Air Force Base as a GS-12. I was supposed to have been a commissioned officer in the U.S. Air Force, but after 3.5 years of ROTC, they determined that I was medically ineligible. But I'd already had a by-name request from a general out there at Edwards, so I went right to Edwards right after graduation. In January of 90, I married Marina, and then we went to live in Italy. I originally had accepted a position with Piaggio Aerospace to work on what would become the P-180. That did not materialize, and so I wound up at Finmeccanica. It was Alenia Aeronautics and Defense at the time. It eventually got wrapped up into Finmeccanica, which nowadays is essentially Lockheed. So I spent 13 years in Finmeccanica, working mostly on the Tornado and Eurofighter. Along the way, I'm studying a little bit of economics with the help of two friends, trying to understand why Italy's economy is doing so poorly compared to what I'd seen back in Ohio and California. Okay, let's get to the important parts. One of my roommates at Rensselaer Polytechnic was Mr. Cool, who I've talked about before. Mr. Cool is the only flag officer to be court-martialed in the DoD in the past 39 years. He was court-martialed apparently for inappropriately showing affection for a female colleague, but the real reasons are otherwise. I'll get into that in a separate show. His background was in biology. He ran the largest DoD laboratory on U.S. soil, and so his being put on the sidelines with this court-martial had to do with the knowledge he gained while there and at the various other biological and chemical laboratories around the United States. Okay, and now here's one of the accusations made, that I'm an agent for nefarious parties in Europe, and one of the accusations is that I withheld the information that I'm related to one of the top cancer researchers or experts in gene therapy, Luigi Naldini. So let's show him. Yes, Luigi. Well, let's let him give an intro, short intro. Oh, sorry, I got to share screen first. Luigi is Marina's first cousin, and he lived just down the street from me for several years until he went to La Jolla and then eventually to Milan. Okay, so here's Luigi Naldini, detto Iggy.
Medicine, genetic disease were called incurable. The challenge really to say, well, we can do something, even if a gene of yours is faulty, we can try to fix it. And I think that's an amazing challenge, and proving that that's the case open up a number of incredible potential.
Curing monogenic disease, or disease caused by the dysfunction of a single gene, was the underlying goal of gene therapy at its beginnings in the 90s. It was also at that time that Luigi Naldini, a doctor and a researcher, decided to join Didier Trono's team in the United States. They worked together on a new approach which involved introducing genetic materials into cells in order to cure disease by taking advantage of the infectious characteristics of the AIDS virus.
When HIV came with an interest in inventing new vectors that could infect non-dividing cells in the body, such as cells of the brain or the hematopoietic stem cell, the mother of all blood cells, then it was natural that we started discussing how to do it. I think both Luigi and myself, being MDs, we knew that, well, if we do it properly, it should work. We knew that there was a critical need for good vectors to infect, transduce, modify, genetically speaking, targets that were valuable to cure a number of diseases. And that
years is really, and I think the rebirth of gene therapy in the last 5 or more years is really due to this new vector generation, like lentiviruses and AAV viruses, which are really proved to be safer and more efficient than the early ones. So now clinical results are coming together with safety and efficacy.
Today, the basic principle remains the same: importing a healthy gene into cells using a harmless derivative of the AIDS virus as the vector. Thanks to this highly effective delivery.
Okay, we'll get into a little bit more of Luigi Naldini's background in a week or two. But for the record, yes, E.G. and I did share a lot of time together while he was living on my street. And he is, after all the people that I've met and worked with in aerospace and in automotive, all the scientists that I've interviewed at MIT, the E.G. is still one of the top 10 all around. One of the difficulties that I have, it's easy to say, well, those guys who are fooling around with our genetics, they're all bad. It's not so easy. Luigi has said to me several times, he's admitted to being a secular humanist. He grew up Roman Catholic in a traditional Italian Roman Catholic style. I still have somewhere a photograph of him making his first communion. But I've watched this transformation, this progression from, when he was roughly 29 years old till today, the steps that he's made, and probably I've tried to put myself in his shoes, imagining the kinds of decisions that he's had to make in order to progress up the ladder, in order to impress certain people that needed to be impressed in Milan, in order to become a junior partner at the San Raffaele, and eventually its director. And I wrestle with this question a lot. That said, I have never tried to hide my relationship to Luigi Naldini or any of the fact that I've met with several of his colleagues. I translated for one of them in Torino. I've never tried to hide this information. I'm not working as part of a secret group. Anyone who's come to my house, either in Italy or here in the States, has seen that I certainly I'm not rolling in money. The other accusation made was that of hiding information about some of the professors that I've worked for or worked with briefly at MIT. There are strategic reasons for not fully disclosing my relationship to two professors there in the Boston area, because they are potentially targets, and I don't want to put their names out there yet, because as George has said, micro-harassment, low-intensity warfare is a thing nowadays, and I don't want to encourage to widen their social graph. I don't want to make their footprint on the social graph any bigger than it needs to be. Not that I myself am any kind of threat. I have 150 active subscribers and 1,880 roughly inactive subscribers. But in good time, I will reveal their names with their permission and show you what they have done towards helping me understand the complex battlefield that we find ourselves on. There's no white hats and no black hats. I think they're all various shades of gray. And one of the goals of Research Roadshow is to do what Julian Assange suggested in 2009, to bring all the crud to the surface, to get it all out there, and decide as a global community, how are we going to get ourselves out of this? Now that the Pandora's box is open and these tools like CRISPR-Cas13 are out there, and there is the possibility for doing strange things that could impact one or more species, whether it's dolphins or chimpanzees or you name it. These capabilities are out there there's tremendous potential for harm to the global ecosystem. One guy, a Brazilian expert, told me that the entire Amazon forest is threatened now by one bacteria, and I can't remember its name, but luckily that didn't materialize. It was a localized problem for a few months or maybe a couple of years, and then the problem subsided. Mother Nature took over and found a way out. But there is the potential to do very significant harm if we allow these tools into the quote unquote wrong hands. Not that I'm a huge fan of the Carnegies and the Rockefellers and their cousins in Europe who hold most of the tools right now, especially as West Coast Carol has mentioned. The Global Brain Project is very real, and we don't like what we're seeing on that end. But we do have to get all of the crud to the surface and get it all out there, and then we can start talking about, no favorites. This was brought up a few days ago in Citizens Intel. Well, we have to try to protect this one particular group over here because you never know, they're very powerful, and if we attack them too strongly, bad things could happen. Let's get it all out there, and let's find a way to let's decide what are some alternatives that may not have been discussed before. Behind me is this book by Judith Vary Baker, Lee Harvey Oswald, and me. Tons of good information about how they are, and maybe why certain people in New Orleans and in Montreal are trying to hide their activities for the past 60 years. It's going to come out eventually, so let's bring it out now, and let's get it. Let's open up the discussion. What's going on in Congress right now, I don't have a lot of faith that any of the real juicy juice will come out. I think that it's largely kabuki theater what's going on in Washington right now, but I'm confident that within 2 or 3 months, the real juice is going to come out, and hopefully with some help from Research Roadshow and its affiliates. And at that point, we have a lot of work to do. Everyone has to start. You don't all have to become. It's not necessary that we all become experts like Luigi Naldini in every area, but we need to study the basics, the basics of biology, of ecosystems, of philosophy. Philosophy is going to be a very important one, and I strongly suggest that if you're looking for a place to start with the sophists. The field is wide open. This is what I'm trying to say. There is going to be a battle for the hearts and minds of our young people. The battleground is going to be vicious. Already we're seeing a large number of young people turn to hard drugs much sooner than they otherwise would have. And it's important to let young people know, even as young as 14, what they're up against. What is this battle that's being waged where they are the fodder, and why, and how do we get ourselves into this mess? How do we get ourselves out? I'm confident. The reason that I keep going is I'm confident in the abilities of our young people to grasp certain concepts on the fly, and to take the ball and run with it. And I really do, and especially the high school students that come through MIT on tour, and some of the comments that they make about these newfangled gadgets that they're seeing, they blow me away. So let's. I'm trying to communicate as a message of hope. We have work to do. If you're still in the habit of watching Netflix for a couple hours every night, try to cut back. There's a lot of work. Especially in terms of getting the word out about Judith's great work, and a couple of the people that are helping Judith. We've got to get the message out. It's no time to sit back and rest on our laurels for the work that we've done so far. It's time to really dig in, and we have to work smarter, not necessarily harder. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Again, all of the information I put out about my own background and my relatives in Italy and in America, I'll put that on a private website, make it available to everybody. I don't want any more accusations I'm hiding something. And tomorrow we have Protecting the Nest at 12:30. And on Saturday at 12:30, we have the Zoom call with going through George Webb's Twitter Spaces and old videos. That's Saturday at noon. Thanks again, everybody. Have a good night. And keep smiling. It drives the AI crazy.